Hi guys, welcome back to Behavior Strategies for Class. This is where we are turning student behavior challenges into classroom success stories by helping teachers respond to challenging behavior with calm, clarity, and confidence so every student can thrive. Now, this month is about stability in the spring storm, right? The spring brings a lot of different challenges, from motivation, from body control, from kids losing their minds. And so today we're going to talk about some SEL, social emotional learning, and trauma informed supports that will fit April, because April is like one of the toughest months. So today we're going to talk about regulation, inclusivity, and resilience. And we'll answer, what SEL can I still do when testing eats my schedule? And how do I help anxious or disengaged students right now? So we are going to provide quick, doable practices, and those will be 5 ways that you can help your students through this tough, struggling time in April. Now, I think of a couple students of ours who really had a tough time transitioning back just from spring break. And then we had another student who actually ended up being gone for 2 weeks instead of 1 week. And for the most part, did fine. But of course, by the end of the day, that student was just done with all of it. It just exhausted, refusal, angry, tired, all of the above. We've had other students just not do any work, just refusal. It's too hard. There's no motivation really at all. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more in next week's podcast about how to keep your students motivated, some ways that you can help with that motivation, because I know it's a struggle and you're on like that last hill coming down because it's almost the end of the year, which is kind of crazy already. So we have used some of these strategies in helping our students kind of reconnect, be able to calm down. We've had students just yell and throw a fit for maybe 10-15 minutes. And once they are calm, then we're able to talk with them about okay, let's get it together, because your disrespect and your rude comments to your teacher throughout the day is not okay. And so we will usually sometime take them out of the classroom and have them work with us one-on-one until we can see they are more calm and ready to get back to class without being rude and disrespectful to the teacher. So we struggle just as much as you do with your students, kind of out of it, sometimes just completely forgetting what are the rules of the classroom or what are the rules of the school, right? So we're going to go over some ways that you can help jog their memory and help them stay regulated as much as possible to be back and doing their learning. Welcome to Behavior Strategies for Class, the show where your student behavior challenges become your classroom success stories. I'm Diane Bachman, a trauma-informed educator, a certified trauma-informed coach with over 15 years of experience working in special education. And I help teachers respond to behavior with calm, clarity, and confidence while building real connection. Each week, we're going to break down those tough moments with practical trauma-informed strategies you can use right away. You'll hear stories that remind you you're not alone. And if you're ready for a calmer classroom, stronger relationships, and behavior support that actually works, you're in the right place. Let's get started. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share this episode, this podcast with other educators that you know, so we can continue to learn and grow together. So, one of the first ways that you can support your students this April is by a spring reset ritual. So, this is really a gentle reset that helps your students feel grounded. So, some of the ways that you can do this is by doing a weekly reset circle. So, where you talk about what is one thing that they could work on, that they could improve on. And you can do this in a morning meeting or maybe an end of the day meeting. Get together where you kind of go over the day, and maybe it's just a reminder for them, like, okay, well, I'm working on being kind, to so and so, maybe another student. Or I'm working on finishing my working class so I don't have to bring it home. Or I'm working on just, following and taking notes while I'm in class. And so maybe the end of the day, it's a check-in and be like, okay, so how did that go today? Or how did you do it, working on that goal or working on that one thing? It's just, and that could be just a daily thing, right? It doesn't have to be like, another drawn out monthly thing. Or, if daily you're not able to do it, maybe just weekly. And, maybe you could do it at the beginning of the week for a couple minutes, have kids think about it, maybe write it on a sticky note or, write it in a journal, whatever. Or if you just want them to verbalize it, that's fine too. But have them thinking, so what is something I can work on like right now or just this week? One thing this week that I can improve on. And then have a fresh start board where they hang their goals. So this is on a sticky note and they can see. And, if kids don't want to write their name next to it, that's fine. You can just have, kindness or, complete my work or, read more or whatever it is that they come up with. And it's a fresh start. So you can just make a poster or even just a headline, fresh start, and have the kids post their sticky notes there. That I think is really powerful for them to see. And then they always say, research shows that if you write it down, that they are more likely to follow through on that, right? Another way that you can do a reset is like a sensory reset. So I've talked about how some classrooms really have low lights, like maybe they have half of their lights on in the classroom. Some classrooms only have like lamps around the room or like the LED lights around the room. Some classrooms actually have coverings over the lights. If your district is able to do that or you're allowed to do that, that really helps to set the tone. Just keeping those calm things going really does make a difference. And also, again, playing that soft music. I know a lot of teachers use that when it's like writing time, just make finishing up a project. And she's like, I want to hear the music. I don't want to hear, you talking. So that's just a reminder too for their voice level as well. So even if they're working on a project and they're working together, they know their level still has to be quiet, whispering, which is kind of funny because some students really don't know how to whisper. It's like, dude, that's not a whisper, which is funny. But again, soft music does help keep a calmer reset in your classroom. So if you haven't used that or haven't tried that yet, I would encourage you to try it and see the difference in your kids. Or like I said, maybe half of your, classroom lights on. Or if you have a window in your room, maybe have no lights on at all. You have enough of the outside lights on. The outside lights. The sun shining in. goodness. Sorry, it is late, guys. As I am recording this, I apologize. So again, a couple different ways you can do a reset for your class this spring in April. Another way that you can help your students, this is a trauma-informed support, it's called a weather and emotion mapping. So it's where you have your students use a weather symbol that matches their internal state. Like, how are they feeling? So stormy, say they're feeling stormy. So they're feeling a little uneasy. Maybe they're feeling anxious. Maybe they're feeling angry. Whatever it is, okay, so if they're feeling stormy, then what can they do? Then they could try a grounding exercise where it's like, okay, well, what do you see? Name 2 things that you see. What's 3 things that you feel? That type of exercise to help them while they're feeling stormy. Or if a child is feeling cloudy, that could be maybe they're sad, maybe they're depressed, maybe they're just really not happy. And a way that you could help them through that is maybe having a check-in with a trusted adult in the school. So you may not be able to, or may not have time, or maybe they just connect better with maybe a specials teacher. And maybe knowing like, okay, if you're feeling this way, make sure you talk to this teacher so that you can connect. Or, if you have time in class and that student is able to go see that teacher at that moment, and that works so that they feel that connection, that belonging with that adult. Another way that they could possibly feel with a weather symbol, of course, is sunny, right? So that brings about happiness, gratitude, joy. And what could they do with that? Well, they could do a gratitude share. They could do a what I'm thankful for, and share it with maybe their table. Or maybe find a peer who may be a little cloudy and share it with them. Or, something. I don't know what snowy would be. Maybe chill. Maybe it's just a relaxed state, and where they could just go sit and read or sit and draw. Like they're just chill, because, snow really does make you like want to relax and just enjoy it. However you want to interpret those weather symbols, and then adding an exercise to that will help them get in touch with their emotions, right? Improving their SEL, and that emotional language is really important when they can be self-aware and be able to identify, what, this is the way I'm feeling right now. And that's okay, right? And help them just process through that. Because when they are able to verbalize their emotional state, it normalizes how they're feeling. And it gives students language for expressing how they feel, right? I mean, just think how much better we as adults could be if we had learned this when we were in elementary school, right? To be more self-aware and be able to express ourselves and really like, oh, well, I'm really feeling, uneasy, or I'm really just feeling tired, or I'm really just bored. I take that back. Like, I always knew when I was bored. And that's when, of course, my mom's like, okay, well, you can go clean your room, or you can go do the dishes, or you can go. So I tried not to say bored too much, because, who wants to go clean your room, right? But again, giving that emotional language is a super way to grow their social emotional learning. Now, number 3, Earth Day is this month, and that is April 23rd. So a way that you could support community, which is the inclusivity, right, is by having maybe different service projects. So what is one way that your class could help your school community during Earth Day? Maybe it's cleaning up the trash in your classroom. Maybe you're going to go help clean up trash in the playground or the field where the kids, play. Walking around out there looking for any trash. Recycling. Could they go pick up recycling in each classroom? Or, maybe in the cafeteria, help find recycling there. Some way that they can help with the school community in a service project. Maybe it's helping set up for an event. Maybe it's maybe cleaning up their bathroom. I don't know. Cleaning out their desks, right? That would be great. Another way that you can build community is getting that gratitude journaling down. And this way you could actually do it in a nature journal, a nature gratitude. So maybe taking your class outside, maybe on a nature walk, so they can look around and see what can they be thankful for out in nature. The trees that give off oxygen, the flowers that share its beauty, and the bees that are able to come and pollinate those flowers. All these different ways that you can incorporate community, build community, get that inclusivity, and it really does regulate, because now you're going outside, which of course the sun, the vitamin D, that helps. The exercise, walking around, just keeps their brain focused. I mean, these are all huge benefits for your students to do. So Earth Day is really a cool way, and it is on a Thursday, a way that you build community in doing different things around your school, maybe just not in your classroom, but throughout the whole school. How can you help your school community for Earth Day? Then number 4, belonging, right? Getting this trauma-informed belonging and connection builders, because trauma-informed centers on relationships. Building those relationships are what helps healing for your students. So some ways that you can do this is connection challenges. So giving a compliment or asking someone a question. So building that community and connection. So sometimes teachers do this like at the beginning of the school year, and getting to know your students and getting them to know each other, right? Like by going around, who has 2 sisters? Who has a brother? Who has a cat, a dog? All of these things. Those are great ways to build connection, because usually there's somebody that has the same amount of pets, or the same kind of pets, or the same amount of siblings, whatever it is. I think that's always fun. I mean, you could still do it because the kids probably don't remember from the beginning of the year, right? Who has what. So that would be another good reminder to build that connection. And then giving a compliment. I love this one because, of course, can we ever get enough compliments? No. Right? No. So teaching them to show gratitude, or to show like, hey, I see that you let Johnny go first in line for lunch. Like, that was super kind and unselfish. So that is a great way to show and express gratitude and build connection and community with your classroom, where they feel that belonging, right? And then when they feel that belonging and connection, they are more likely to connect with you when you are teaching and they're learning, right? Getting them to be a student who thrives in your classroom. Another way that you can build connection is something that I'm pretty sure every classroom does, and where you have group projects or peer projects. So maybe just 2 or 3 are working together, as opposed to maybe 5 or 6 kids working together. Any way that you can get your students working together, problem solving, working out whatever it is the project is, who is the leader. It's very interesting to watch this with some students, and those students who are normally pretty quiet, if they're not asked directly to be involved, they definitely are more comfortable just sitting back, right? Not having to do anything. And not that they're trying to get out of work, they just don't want to push their way in when you have the bolder students kind of taking charge and not really asking that student to be involved. So sometimes there has been, adult prompting to be like, hey, Susie still needs to have her input on whatever it is they're working on. So sometimes they do need some prompts, but for the most part, it's great to see them working it out, talking it out, and compromising together for the good of the project. And that is a great way to build belonging and connection with your students. Another way you could do this is by showing a community strength garden. So again, this could be another cool poster in your classroom, which I'm sure you would love to have. Some students or some teachers I've seen put them on their doors. Like, what are the strengths of your classroom? So this one, you don't have to necessarily do individually, but maybe your classroom as a whole, and having them reflect on how are they strong as a classroom. Are they really generous classroom? Are they really unselfish? Are they really, do they really just take turns so nicely? Are they all respectful? Does everybody raise their hand to ask a question? All these different little things, I think it's great instead of individual that this would be a class project, and to reflect maybe on how they have grown over the year as a class, as that community, as that family, if you would, for being together all year. This is a great time for them to reflect on how they've grown as a classroom. And then you could also have students just write the word on this board. Like I said, maybe we are kind, forgiving, sharing, took turns, whatever it is, having them write that. And so they see that every day on what kind of classroom they have grown into. Another way, so number 5 of the SEL trauma-informed supports for April is this, again, growth mindset in spring themes, right? I know we always talk about growth mindset, right? We don't want to be stuck on our mistakes. We don't want to be stuck on, oh, wow, you really messed that up. But learning like, okay, so if this happened or you made this mistake, what is something maybe you could do differently next time? So we're not always landing, right? We're still acknowledging, okay, this was a mistake. Maybe I made the wrong choice right here and it affected other people this way. So what could I have done differently? Or what will I do differently next time? I love that one of the first grade teachers that I worked with, she was always, so what was your biggest mistake today? Or what did you do wrong today? And I love that because it helps us realize like it's not the end of the world, right? And especially the younger kids, like we take this, or they take this so hard, right? When they make a mistake. And granted, I know even middle school and high schoolers do that as well, right? They're devastated. They're feeling shameful. They are regretful, remorseful, and they just sit in it. And I guess it's okay, right? Sit in it for a minute, right? To feel that, like maybe the way they hurt somebody. But then we want them to come out and see like, okay, what can we learn from this? This is that growth mindset, right? So you can use symbolism of growth to reinforce that resilience, right? So again, this is a way of reflection on how, now this one you could do individually. Giving them a moment to think about just one way, right? We don't want to overwhelm, or they can't think of even 3 things sometimes. So just giving them an idea and thoughts like, okay, what is one way that I have grown this year? And a way you could track it is through a journal. And I have a journal. It's a student behavior journal. It's for sale on Amazon. And it has a place in there for daily behavior goals. And so this has enough for all year. And I know the year is almost over, but you can always start it and then carry it over through next year. And then when you run out, you can buy another one. But it has a place for a daily behavior goal. It has a place for them to be thankful, 3 things that they're thankful for, a place to journal, to write, a place to draw, and a place to identify how are they feeling. And it is super beneficial. And this is something like they could do on a daily basis because, like I said, it is a daily goal. And they can look back and see like, oh, I was working on this at this time. Or, oh, I really did, complete this. Or, oh, I might still need to work on this. And that's okay. Just giving them a chance to be able to reflect back. Now, granted, you may already have journals for them. Maybe they just have a notebook that they've used, and maybe be able to take time to look back. How have I grown? How and what areas have I improved on? And then another way of that you can symbolize the growth is by giving them a little pot and planting a seed in it and watering it in class and seeing how it grows. Or realizing, okay, it's dry, I have to add water to it. Or, maybe put it over by the sun a little bit closer to the window. Whatever it is, but to see like, a plant just doesn't grow on its own, right? There's effort into it. There's action that needs to be taken in order for that to grow. And that is just like us, right? we have to take action. We have to be intentional if we want to grow, if we want to learn, right? Your students want to be successful. Well, that means they have to put in the work, right? They have to do their writing, their reading, their math, their social studies, right? They have to get all of these things done in order to be successful. And that is one thing I struggle with one of our students who refuses to do work because he doesn't want to, is that, he talks about being an engineer or doing something really cool when he gets older. And it's reminding him, like, buddy, if you're not putting in the work right now to grow and learn, how are you going to get to this stage to do the things that you want to do? And I know it's kind of hard, like when they're young and for them to really see like their future per se, right? But we as the adults, we see it and we know, and we want to help them see, and we want to help them grow and be successful. And so we constantly remind our students, like, dude, we want you to be successful. We're here to help you learn. We're here to help you, get things in order and know the strategies and be organized and follow directions and all of these things, because these things will help you be successful and get to where you want to go, right, in life. So to recap, these are 5 SEL trauma-informed supports that will fit and help you in April. So number 1 is doing that spring reset. Number 2, getting that weather and emotion mapping. Number 3, getting those service projects, building community for Earth Day. Number 4, belonging and connection builders. What are ways that you can build belonging and connection with your students? And then number 5, those growth mindsets using spring themes, right? I know we all love those spring themes. So which support will you use this week? Which one of these do you think will best help your students survive and thrive this April? I would love to hear from you and hear which of these did you use? Which of these were successful? Please leave a review on Apple Podcast. Leave a review on Spotify. Wherever you are listening, I would love to hear from you. You can email me, diane@behaviorstrategiesforclass.com. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. I would love to connect with you and hear how is it going in your classroom. So thanks so much for listening, guys. You are doing amazing work. Hang in there. We are almost to the end to where you can celebrate summer and kick your feet up for a little while. So I will see you next week. Keep up the good work. We so appreciate all that you do for our students each and every day. Thanks so much for listening. I truly appreciate your support. And if I have encouraged you, motivated you to continue to learn, to support your students, even better, to help them strive in your classroom, please leave a review, hit that subscribe button so that others can see they can learn and grow here as well. Thank you.